Welcome to the second video of Chapter 6, which is a continuation of inequalities. The first video, you learned how to graph inequalities. Today, we're going to be taking inequalities, or we're going to be taking a written sentence and turning it into an inequality. We will also be graphing linear inequalities. So let's just jump right in with the first example. So it says, translate the verbal statement into an inequality. You do not have to solve. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is taking a sentence, writing an inequality with it. It says the sum of 10 and 2x is greater than 30. So this is a lot of information that we are given here. What's really important is first this word sum. So sum means add. So I'm going to be adding. Now what am I adding? Well, I'm adding 10 and 2x. So the sum of 10 and 2x is greater than 30. And that's it. That's all I'm looking for. I don't want you to solve. I just want you to write the inequality. So let's try another example. So again, it says translate the verbal statement into an inequality. You do not have to solve. So the product of negative 2 and 3x is at most 11. So first thing, product, that's going to mean multiply. So the product, multiply, of negative 2 and 3x, so negative 2 multiplied by 3x, that's what this of means. This of means that I'm taking the product using these two numbers. Okay, is at most 11. So I know that I'm going to have an inequality, and then I'm going to have 11 on the other side. Okay, so is at most 11, that means 11 is like the maximum. So our product has to be less than that. Okay, it can be 11, so it's going to be less than or equal to 11. So is at most 11, so 11 is the maximum that that product can be, so it's going to be 11 or less, so less than or equal to 11. And this is it. You don't have to solve anything. That's your answer. Let's try a few more. Here's one that I would like you to try. So take a minute, pause the video, and do this example on your own on a separate sheet of paper, please. So pause, do this example, and come back when you are finished. Good luck. Okay, let's see how we did. It says the difference of 5x and 10. So difference means subtract. I'm subtracting 5x and 10 because 5x was mentioned first. That's going to come first. So it's going to be 5x minus 10. Is greater than or equal to negative 17. So this is what your inequality should have looked like. If you had 10 minus 5x is greater than or equal to negative 17, that is not correct. Remember with subtraction, order matters. So there's a difference between doing 10 minus 5 and 5 minus 10. Those are two different things. Because 5x is mentioned first, that's the number that comes first when I'm subtracting. So that's what you should have gotten. If you got that, great job. If you didn't, hopefully you see what mistake you made. I believe there's one more before we go on. Okay, so here's the next one that I would want you to try. Same thing as before. Pause the video and do this on a separate sheet of paper. Come back when you are finished, please. Okay, let's see how we did. The sum, so adding, of 12 and 3y is less than 25. Okay, so again, sum means add. Sum of means I'm adding 12 and 3y, and it's going to be less than 25. So that's it. You shouldn't have solved. You should have just left it like that. So hopefully that went right, or that went well for you. If you have any questions, please make sure to raise your hand and ask either myself or Mr. Teresi, whoever is there when you're watching this video. We are now going to move on to graphing linear inequalities. So that's something like this. It says graph the following inequality. It gives you this graph, and it gives you an equation that has both x and y. Now, the inequalities you graphed before only had an x. They just were on a number line. This time we have x and y, so it's going to be a line. Now you're going to notice this is similar to slope-intercept form. Hopefully you remember doing this. This number is going to be my intercept, my y-intercept, and this number is going to be my slope. Now I'm going to start off graphing this just like I would a normal line, like if it was y equals 3x minus 2. So I would start with my y-intercept of negative 2. Y-intercept of negative 2 goes right here. Okay. And then I would graph my slope. My slope is 3 over 1. So I'm going to rise 3 and go over 1. So rise 3 and over 1. Rise 3 and over 1. Rise 3 and over 1. Now it's a positive slope, so my line should be rising, which it is. It starts low and ends higher, which is good. Okay, from here, this is where it's going to change a little bit. Now I have this inequality sign. Because it does not include the equal to, I'm going to have a dotted line. So these two are going to have a dotted line. Anytime you add in an equal to, it's going to be a solid line. We don't have an equal to, so this is going to be a dotted line. Okay, and then last thing that you have to do is you have to figure out where to shade. So you're going to have to shade on one side of your inequality, one side of your line. Generally, the way I figure out shading is I substitute in a number. The origin, or 0, 0, is the best point to substitute in my opinion. So I have y is greater than 3x minus 2. I'm going to substitute in 0, 0. So this first 0 is the x, the second 0 is the y. So I have 0 is greater than 0 times 3 minus 2. So I have 0 is greater than 0 minus 2. 0 is greater than negative 2. I need to ask myself, is this true? Is 0 greater than negative 2? Well, yes, it is. Okay, so that means wherever I shade, 0, 0 should be in that shading. 0, 0 is this point right here. So that means I'm going to shade on this side of my line. And that's it. Now I know that was a little confusing, so we're going to do another example together before you're going to take one on your own, or before you're going to try one on your own. So here's our next example. It says graph the following inequality. This time we are in standard form. I'm not sure how most of your teachers teach you to solve standard form. So what I'm going to tell you is I'm going to tell you to make an XY chart. If you don't like this way, I'm going to show you another way in a minute. But make an XY chart. So basically, you're going to look for 2 points. This is saying I'm going to substitute in 0 for x and solve for y. So I have 3 times 0 minus 2y is greater than or equal to 12. That's just 0. So I have negative 2y is greater than or equal to 12. If I divide by negative 2, I get y is less than or equal to negative 6. Remember, when you divide by a negative, it flips. This sign, though, doesn't really matter. All I was looking for was that negative 6. So that's a point, 0, negative 6. Now I'm going to do the same thing with this point, except substitute in 0 for y. So I have 3 times x minus 2 times 0 is greater than or equal to 12. Again, the inequality doesn't really matter. You can change it to an equal sign if you want to. This becomes 3x minus 0 is greater than or equal to 12. 3x is greater than or equal to 12. If I divide by 3, I get x is greater than or equal to 4. Again, inequality doesn't matter. I was just really looking for that number 4. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to graph those 2 points. So I have 0, negative 6, which is right here, and I have 4, 0, which is right here. Okay, now my line is going to go through those 2 points. Because I have this equal, it's greater than or equal to, it's going to be a solid line. Okay, so I'm going to connect using a solid line. And then I have to figure out where's my shading going to go. Remember that I like to substitute in the point 0, 0. So I have 3 times 0 minus 2 times 0 is greater than or equal to 12. This is 0 minus 0 is greater than or equal to 12. So 0 is greater than or equal to 12. I need to ask myself, is this true? Is 0 greater than or equal to 12? Well, no, 0 is less than 12. So 0, 0 should not be a point in my shading. Because 0, 0 is on this side, and I don't want it to be in the shading, I don't want it to be a solution, I need a shade on the other side, away from 0, 0. So that's where my shading should have gone. Okay. I told you that was one way to do the problem. I would like to show you a second way to do the problem in case you didn't like doing it this way. If you like doing it that way, that's great. If you didn't, that's okay too, and we're going to go over now the other way that you could have done it. Okay, so the other way that I'm going to tell you how to do this, I don't think a lot of your teachers showed you, but I'm going to show you anyway. A lot of students are not really comfortable in standard form. They like to graph better when y is by itself, when we're in slope-intercept form. So you could just solve for y. So what I mean is, subtract 3x. So I have negative 2y is greater than or equal to 12 minus 3x. Divide by negative 2. So 12 divided by negative 2 is negative 6. Negative 3 divided by negative 2 is going to be positive 3 over 2. When I divide by a negative, it flips the inequality. Now, this is just slope-intercept form. This negative 6 is my y-intercept. This 3 over 2 is my slope, which should work. My y-intercept is negative 2. My slope is up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 2. Up 3 over 2. Up 3 over 2. And then same thing, because I have an equal sign, it's a solid line. If I were to plug in 0, 0 again, it would not be a solution. So all I wanted to show you is that when you have an equation in standard form like this, where x and y are on the same side, you can either solve for y or you can make an xy chart, whichever one you are more comfortable with. Okay, it's time for you to do one on your own. Here's the example that I would like you to try. So again, I would like you to pause the video and do this one on your own, please. So do it on a separate sheet of paper. You're going to have to sketch yourself out a coordinate plane, the xy coordinate plane. But take 2 minutes, do this one on your own, and come back when you are finished. This is the last example of the video, so please make sure that you complete it. Good luck. Okay, let's see how we did. So I'm going to do the problems both ways. I'm going to solve for y. I'm also going to do the xy chart. I'm going to start with the xy chart because this is in standard form. So this is where I'm looking for 2 points. The first one, I'm substituting in 0 for x. So I have 2 times 0 minus 4y is less than 8. That's just 0. If I divide by negative 4, I get a negative 2. It's going to flip the inequality, but again, I don't really care about the sign of the inequality yet. I just was looking for that negative 2. Second point says substitute in 0 for y. So I have 2x minus 4 times 0 is less than 8. That's just 0. So if I divide by 2, I get x is less than 4. Again, all I really care about is that 4. Okay, now I have 2 points, 0, negative 2, which is right here. and 4, 0, which is right here. I'm ready to connect them. Because my inequality does not have an equal sign, it's going to be dotted, not a solid line. And then last thing you should have done was figure out the shading. I like to substitute in 0, 0. So I have 2 times 0 minus 4 times 0 is less than 8. This is just 0 is less than 8. Is that true? Well, yes it is. So I want to shade where 0, 0 is because it makes the inequality true. 0, 0 is here, so I want to shade on this side, the side where 0, 0 is, because it makes a solution to the inequality. Now, this is what you should have ended up with. I want to show you the other way if you chose to solve for y. So we started with 2x minus 4y is less than 8. If you chose to solve for y, you would have subtracted 2x. So this would have been negative 4y is less than 8 minus 2x. You then would have divided by negative 4. So that would have flipped your inequality. 8 divided by negative 4 is negative 2. I have a negative 2 divided by negative 4, which is a positive 1/2. So this would have been the same thing, negative 2 plus 1/2 x. Well, let's make sure that that works. Y-intercept of negative 2 is right here. My slope of 1/2, that means go up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, which still works. And then you should have had the shading on the same side if you substituted in 0, 0. So hopefully that went well. If it didn't, please make sure you raise your hand and ask a question of either myself or Mr. Teresi. You have one more video to watch before you are going to start your worksheet. So please move on to the third video. Goodbye.